Hey, welcome to Swish4Real in the building, man. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing today, man? How y'all doing, fellas?
Good.
Good.
Man, we got
Happy to be here.
Bob, we got Big
Doing
Ken, we got
good.
Yoggi, we got Wild Dog, man. Today we got a great show for y'all tonight, man. You know, it's been some time. We haven't seen these guys in a minute, man. So we got to catch up. We got to, let people know what's going on. Let's just kind of get acquainted to what's been going on for, the week for you guys. Ken, we're going to start with you. How was your week so far, man?
Man, my week's been great. I actually started these Dale Carnegie courses. So shout out to the folks in my class, man. We're learning a lot about how to be a better person and how to treat people better. You know what I'm saying? Professionally and personally.
Oh, wow. And Yoggi, how was your week so far, brother?
My week was great, actually. I went and saw Corinne Bailey Ray on Thursday. Was it Thursday? Tuesday is one of the days on the other side of Wednesday. And it was great. It was great seeing her. Had a great time. I didn't learn anything like Big Ken. I'm not a better person for it. I just my singing is better though. So. Yeah, it was great. We had a great time.
Gotcha. And Wild Dog, how was your week, man? Tell the people what you've been up to.
Oh man, my calendar is set. I live by my calendar, even though I'm retired. So, I stay busy. But this week, some really good news. My son he was elected as a representative, first step, and then today he found out he was elected president of his middle school.
Nice. So,
congratulations, man. I'm just a proud dad. I'm just a proud dad. That's all. That's my number one job is to be a good steward over my son. So that's what I'm on right now.
Amen.
Yes, sir.
And Boogey Bob, my co-host, man. How was your week, man? Tell the people what's going on in your life.
It's been a good week. I'm gonna tag on here to Wild Dog. His son is Jet because his initials are JET, and he's a big Marvel fan. So I've been catching up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and there was 7 seasons. So I've been a couch potato all week.
Ain't mad at you, brother. Ain't mad at you. Man. It's good. Now I know a lot of people asking why the hell most of y'all got on shades, right? So we dedicated this show to our boy Big Ken. Big Ken has been a faithful host or participant in what we're doing here at Swish4Real, man. We appreciate you coming on. We just wanted to show you reverence, man. Put on some shades, even though he got the Deion Sanders special. We ain't got that, but we trying to work it. I got a pair of Ray-Bans, so I ain't tripping. So, man, we appreciate you, man. I thank y'all for coming on, man.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it for sure.
A lot of directors, man, they wear shades too, man. They think they all the chain with it. So our first session today, we're gonna talk about some of the best film movies in regards to basketball, man. And we're gonna start with you, Ken, since this show is dedicated to you. So you're gonna be the first one to talk on all these. So just be prepared. Right. So when you were young, or even like nowadays, what were some of the best basketball movies that you've watched, and what impactful, insightful stuff that you got from watching those movies?
Okay, I'm gonna go 2. I'm gonna give you one movie and one documentary.
Gotcha.
One movie is Who Got Game. That movie was a big deal, and for me and my friends and everything, like that movie shed a lot of light on what to expect from college when you got to college, when you go on visits and things like that to these schools, and a lot of it, people were saying it was embellished. It was unrealistic, but if you've been on college trips to visit some of these schools, you know that a lot of that stuff is true. It's true when it comes to recruiting and when it comes to these schools trying to get you to come there. So, and it also, with that movie, you had Denzel Washington, you had Ray Allen in his acting debut. So, very dope cast, of course, by Spike Lee. So you can't lose with that. So that's one of my favorite movies. I don't know if it's the best, by everybody's guidelines, but I know it's one of my favorites.
Isn't it? Ray Allen's name in that movie was Jesus Shuttlesworth.
Jesus Shuttlesworth. Yeah, that became iconic.
Yeah,
it became so iconic that people started calling him that and not Ray Allen.
So that's your favorite movie that have an impact on the session to you?
Yeah, that movie, and then I got one documentary is Hoop Dreams. When we were coming up, the documentary Hoop Dreams meant a lot to us because it showed a side of basketball that people really don't see. They don't see the grind. They don't see the unsuccessful story. They always show the success. They don't show the unsuccessful stories of what goes on and the trials and tribulation that these guys go through, especially young guys in these different neighborhoods. So I thought that was a great movie too when it came to to basketball.
Yeah, that was an inspirational movie. I remember that, man. That kid, it was two different kids that they highlighted on that. They had their own struggles, man.
Yep.
So Yogi, what are your thoughts on the NBA's best movies and your thought process as far as what you watched?
Well, I like to laugh, the kind of funny. So one of my favorite basketball movies, if you can call it basketball, was the Martin Lawrence movie, Rebound, when he was coaching the kids.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was really, and it's not really considered, I don't think, a basketball movie, but it was where you had the kids that couldn't really play, and he had kind of got them to come together. They had the big guy standing up that really wasn't any good, and he said, and then the guy says they soft in the middle. They just yeah, but I thought it was really good. It was very funny. I thought that was one of Martin's good movies, and I thought it was a good basketball movie as well. Didn't learn as much about basketball in it, but they had the one kid that could play, but I thought that was one of my favorite basketball movies. I like Hoosiers as well, but it wasn't as funny. So I'm going to go with the Martin Lawrence basketball movie.
Yeah, Hoosiers was my movie for sure, man. Wild Dog, in your opinion, what were some of the best basketball films that you watched in your youth and current times?
We got guys who made some really good selections so far. So, but I'm a huge movie buff. I really am. So I really have to narrow it down to like, what have I watched the most? Is the best way for me to, narrow it down for me. So, so I would put it this way: me loving all aspects of basketball, and then spending most of my life with a significant other, one way or the other. I mean, loving basketball has been the number one film that I've watched.
Yeah.
And to even females that weren't basketball players or into sports, that was a way for me to, put that on, and there's no disagreement. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, when we go into the game, when's the playoffs? And it's like, gotcha. And then impactful for me, a story that I'm so glad was told, I like to give honor to Coach Carter.
Yeah.
So that's the number one basketball movie that I've actually recommended, overall for pretty much any age, any basketball player, any level, is I recommend, Coach Carter, movie night. Coach Carter might be up on the list of choices, Yes,
that was a dope movie,
sir.
man. I appreciate watching that too. And loving basketball, my wife, because she hoops too, so I have to watch that.
Yeah,
with her.
So you done played for your heart before, huh, Big Mike?
I had to, bro. I had to. So, Bob, going to you, man. What is your films as far as basketball go? What was the most impressive movie you watched in your time?
Well, the guys mentioned Hoosiers. That's a classic.
1986.
It never gets old. My favorite movie, which I will quote a line from the movie: "You would rather look pretty and lose than to look ugly and win."
Oh man, yeah.
And White Man Can't Jump with Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
And I have told so many people that, especially when coaching, they want to look fancy and they want to look all this and then miss the shot. I'm like, I don't care if you look ugly. If it goes in the hoop, it counts. Or as we say, $1 million move and a penny finish.
Yep.
Thanks. You got any other ones on your repertoire as far as movies?
Well, I watched one based on your recommendation, so this is probably on your list, but I watched this. It's a recent movie, Nike, about Sonny Vaccaro.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That was not a bad movie, though, especially when they try to pursue Jordan. The one movie, and I kind of like comical basketball movies, and I'm not bad on, I'm not opposed to documentaries as well, but Semi-Pro, man, that shit was fucking hilarious. And it gave you, right, because it gave you the parallels between the NBA and the ABA, and man, it was a good movie though, man. So I think I had to add that one to the ones I like too, man. And Hoop Dreams to me was an amazing documentary, man. It gave a lot of kids the opportunity to see what it's like to go from point A to point B and what it takes to get to where you got to be, man. So yeah, that was a good movie. And my last recommendation was The Last Dance, as far as the Chicago Bulls, man. A lot of people kind of slipped on that one, man, but that was a good documentary as well. And it gave you a lot of insight on how Jordan was. You know what I mean? People thought, he was just this guy, but he was an asshole at the same time. So it's kind of hard to, blow your nose at that movie, but it was a great movie as well. So when you had an opportunity to hear the news about Damian Lillard going to the Bucks, what were your thoughts on that, and what impacts do you think he's going to have as far as being a Buck with Giannis?
Spread the floor. That floor is going to be so wide. It was already wide, but you gotta think now. You got Chris Middleton and Dame with Giannis. I mean, that floor is going to be wide open, and now you have 3 bona fide scorers. And when you have that much scoring on your team, you can also do a lot with the lineups. You can switch the lineups around where you can always be assured to have a scorer on the floor at that time, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what a lot of people don't realize about some teams when they sign certain players. They're like, well, why would they sign this guy? Blah, blah. Sometimes some of these guys will be better suited coming off the bench or spending more time playing with a second unit, where Chris Middleton would probably be that guy. Now he will kind of shift more time to be with the second unit, and you're probably going to see his PPG go up as well, right? So, a lot of people might not see the benefit of it just on the shelf of it for like people like Middleton, but you just see Dame, is going to be having to share the ball a little bit more, so you might see his PPG go down a little bit because he's not going to get as many touches, right? He's not going to get the same amount of touches that he was getting, in Portland with the Bucks, but he wants to win. So with that mentality, I think he's going to be a great addition to that team, and they're going to be scared if they're healthy.
Right. So last year he averaged 32.2 points per game, and then his assist ratio 7.3 is amazing. I think that's an asset, man, considering what Drew Holiday provided, man. So I agree with you, man. I think he's going to be able to spread the floor and bring something spectacular to the game. Yoggi, your thoughts on that, man? What do you think?
Well, it was a couple of things, man. The first thing I thought when I heard about it was, I remember the last time that Dame was swept in the playoffs. He was swept by Drew Holiday's team. And Drew, man, and to me, the biggest piece of that was Drew Holiday. Now, yes, Dame is an asset because he can put the ball in the hole frequently. And that's what Milwaukee needs. But man, the biggest thing, I was like, where's Drew going to go? Where's Drew going? And I think Drew leaving there going to Boston was just as big a pickup, I believe, as it was for Milwaukee to get Dame. Because if Milwaukee can just stay close, Dame is going to be your finisher. Not going to have any problem putting the ball in the hole with Dame. And I think it's a really good pickup. And also what it does, man, it kind of takes some power back from the players demanding to go to certain teams. We're not going to send you to that team but we will send you to a team that is winning. But we're not going to. You can't demand where you trade and where you want to go because it handcuffs. I think it handcuffs the league, and I don't think it's fair. So that just.
I agree with you on that one. And Bob, I know you had an opportunity to kind of analyze this a little bit more. What are your thoughts on that move for us?
Well, I got a lot of meat here. A lot of meat. Who on here can sing? Because I'm not the best singer, but there's a song called Gravity.
John Mayer.
That's a country song, right?
Yeah.
Is it the country song?
Yep.
It's sung country-ish. How about that?
So, it's a new term, but Dame Lillard and Giannis together, that's like double gravity. So we're talking about a deadly pick and roll.
Oh,
you got someone who can bring the ball up the court, so you take a little bit of energy. Giannis can basically set up, but you're talking about a deadly pick and roll. And like Ken said, it's like Dame Dalla. He gonna be doing this a lot. He might even be going to Boston. He might be going Drew Holiday. Bye.
You think so? Really?
You think so? He's the second behind Steph Curry. He's the second best range shooter in the NBA.
Yes.
So, like Ken said, that's a lot of floor spacing. I think this Lopez used to be a big scorer when he came in the league. He's going to get a lot of dunks out of that.
Mm-hmm. And as far as them picking up Cameron Payne too, as far as that team goes, Bob, you think that's also an addition to it? Because Cameron, he can hoop himself.
I think it's a replacement for Malcolm Brogdon, who they didn't get what they thought they were going to get.
Who picked him up?
Every team needs somebody they can bring off a bench that for 10, 15 minutes a game can be a stopper or just wear somebody out.
Who picked him up? Boston picked him up? Austin picked up Payne? Or Milwaukee?
No, Milwaukee did. I'm looking at the roster right now.
Okay. No, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
So they got
and was it Cameron Payne, the guy that was sitting at home in the bubble and Phoenix Suns picked him up?
Mm-hmm.
And
So
they
and
also got
score,
but too for Milwaukee goes. They got great.
They sure did. That's why I got him last. Yes, that sure did. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So they got a squad.
Mm-hmm.
I think his defense. He can score, but I think he's going to be their defensive specialist.
Cameron Payne.
Yeah.
And Wild Dog, your thoughts on this move, man? Because it shook up the whole NBA for the most part. Everybody thought he was going to Miami, but going to Milwaukee, come on, man. That's a cheat code right there.
Speaking of Miami, my first thought was, Dame versus Jimmy Buckets. Who? That's a question I don't want to have to answer, And then I'm not a gambling man, but the odds makers have never been that far off. but with Dame going to Milwaukee, they've got the Bucks far out in the head for winning the chip this year. So I'm like, okay, between me not wanting to answer my own question, to the odds makers, I'm like, okay, lean toward Dame. And then I think about, I get upset with them because of the close games they would lose. Those days are over. They handle business, but there's a lot of games where they might get, beat out by, within 5 points or whatever, something like that. Those games are over. You're going to have to come hard and have a game plan. And some of these young cats are going to come on the East is going to come after Dame. He's going to have to know what's coming. And the Dame I know is going to embrace it, and is not going to have any problems, And then when it comes to the others, whether they have to be defensive specialists or whatever, Dame is not going to allow them to sit there and watch TV. They're going to have to put in work. And then he carries the weight behind him to get the others and the young folks to respond to him. You know, so I'm excited. I'm excited.
He is a good addition to him, man. I know Jimmy Butler is going through his emotional stress right now with his hairdo and all that stuff. I'm like, come on, bro. It is what it is, man. I ain't mad at him.
I mean, Dame to the Bucks and then Holiday to the Celtics. It's like, does the league hate us down here or what? You know what I'm saying? But the Blazers had to get Dame out of the West. There's no way. If I'm letting you go out of the West, there's no way under any circumstances you staying in the West. You're going to have to go. Right. That's as far as they could get him is with Milwaukee.
Yeah, man. I ain't mad at him. I think that's a good pickup for Milwaukee, man, because Dame is one of those phenomenal it's one of those once in a lifetime players, man, that can hoop like that. You know what I mean? And he'll get you +6 on the assist level. So I ain't mad at them right there, man. I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do in the center position because they got both of the Lopez. You know what I mean? But I like the Lopez brothers, but they just don't. You know, they don't. To me, they're not centers. They just to me they seem stiff, and I hate to say that.
Well, one is more traditional, and the other one is a little bit more of a popper. So go ahead, Yogi.
Well, I'm just saying you kind of have to be to play with Giannis though, because the last thing Giannis wants is you clogging a lane up because a majority of his points are in the lane. And he needs room to operate. So you got to be a popper so he can. You go out there because he's going to him. And Giannis, oh man, he feeds in the lane.
Because I think one of
Big
them,
Mike is big in it, but they play well together.
Yeah. But because one of the brothers he has range 3-point range, and the other one he has deep mid range. So I mean there's still going to be a lot of spacing either way. But I'm sure that the Bucks, with that roster having, you know, the bulk of their roster still being in place from years past, I'm sure they're gonna figure out how to fit Dame in there and how to, you know, insert Cameron Payne into the second unit, and it's gonna work. It's gonna work.
Yeah, I can see it working. Speaking of the center position, and we're going back to you, Ken, because you know you're an amazing first lead on the first leg. I mean, I enjoyed Shaq in my years, and I loved watching him. And then you got Dwight Howard coming right behind him, not too many years later. I want to compare the two of them, man. And what are your thoughts when you looked at the two of them? Were they even comparable, or is it just who was most dominant? And what are your opinions on those two as a comparisons?
Yeah, they have a lot of similarities, right? I mean, not just the fact that they play for Orlando. If you look at their game and what they were capable of, they have a lot of similarities. The difference to me is Dwight Howard is just a little bit more athletic, and he doesn't have the ability to handle the ball like Shaq did in an open floor. That's really the big difference between the two. Other than that, they pretty much did the same thing. They pretty much served the same purpose around the goal. They didn't shoot a lot of mid-range shots and things like that. Their job was to finish at the rim and play defense on the defensive end. So, I mean, pretty much it was the same guy, especially when you look at young Shaq, right? Now, Shaq, when he went to the Lakers, because he had bulked up so much, he became that ultra dominant force, because he was already dominant as a young fellow. But when he put on that bulk, he went from like 270, 280 to like 320. That changed everything, because we hadn't seen anybody that big and able to do the things that he was doing since Wilt.
No, facts.
That's the only player that was that big and that athletic.
I mean, Shaq was a beast. And Wild Dog, your thoughts on that, man? I know, you know, Shaq and Dwight Howard, man. I'm you know what was surprising to me as far as Dwight Howard, and I'll let you speak in just a second. He was one of the most phenomenal dunkers, and he went into the dunk contest. And you're right, Ken, he was more athletic than Shaq. But Wild Dog, your thoughts on that, man? You think what are your thoughts as far as the comparisons go with those two players?
I mean, when I first went into it, I'm like, round 1, first pick to the Magic. I'm like, and I'm like, so I'm just like, but for me, when I dug through it, I'm like, the big difference is 13 years. You looking at a matter of almost basically generational difference from the time Shaq came up in the game and then the shift in the game as to when Dwight came up. So I think that for me is a key in how their game and their careers have evolved, while one is an outstanding, talented player and the other one is all of that plus is just straight up dog, I think upbringing has a lot to do with it because I come from a military government background, but also that generational gap, that 13 year shift from the way the game was come up, it meant everything between the difference between the two of them, 13 years, both, round 1, first round picks. That's the difference is how the game had changed or evolved when they came up into it, because head to head, I got to give it to Shaq,
right?
So
your thoughts on
even Shaq is 13 years older. In the regular season, they only met in the regular season. They were 6-6. How can you not beat the old man?
That's what I was going to say. Well, your thoughts on Shaq going to college, LSU, and Dwight coming straight out of high school, was that a difference as far as how they were able to play the game better, or did it make a difference at that point? Because Shaq was 7 foot tall and Dwight 6.
Again, with the timing of it, I don't want to sit here and bash the Magic today, but there's a distinct difference, from the organization when Shaq came through. It was young, but they had very young, tenacious coaching, and support staff. And by the time Dwight came along, I'll move on.
Yeah, but
it's soft over there. It was soft, a little bit desperate over there.
So Shaq, he averaged 13.9 points a game in his rookie season. Dwight Howard averaged what was it, like 10? So I guess Shaq kind of outdid him as far as the points differential. But I still think Shaq had a better career when it comes to being from a college bred player than Dwight Howard comes straight out of high school.
You got to take into context when Shaq, you're saying rookie year. You're comparing a 21-year-old to an 18-year-old, a fresh 18-year-old. He had just turned 18. Yeah. So for him to be able to come in the league that young and to be that good his first year in the league, like he wasn't great, but his athleticism was so off the charts. If he had the roster that he had years later that took them almost to the finals, then you're talking about different numbers. But they were able to get some guys around him with Dwight Howard that made him better. And to me, when Shaq came to the Orlando Magic, they had some pieces, but he was that piece, and then Penny came, so they had a much better roster to me than what Dwight played with in Orlando.
Gotcha. And Yoggi, what are your thoughts on those two comparisons?
Well, y'all covered most of them. I'm gonna say what Big Ken said, and I'm gonna say what Wild Dog said. They were really great points, and I think college did Shaq a world of good, because I think Shaq would have been good coming right out of high school, but I do believe playing at LSU those years helped him make the transformation to the NBA, because it makes you wonder how much better Dwight would have been if he had went to college.
Yeah,
if he had went to college, then came training, because Dwight Howard was phenomenal, man. It's funny what I think about when I think about Dwight is he stayed in Orlando too long. He should have left sooner. If he had left sooner, he might would have experienced a championship or something close to it. I just feel like he stayed there something. But man, and Shaq, once Shaq put the weight on, anytime the officials allow people to just beat you up, hit you, and because they don't know how to officiate the game, because it's so unfair what you're bringing. I think that's what separates Shaq from anybody else, where the official literally had to swallow his whistle because I don't know what to do with this mammoth that's out here and these regular guys trying to guard him.
Facts. Bob, your sentiments.
Well, I hope y'all fellas have your seatbelt on. Because Wild Dog went all Stephen A. Smith on y'all a few weeks ago, and I'm going to go all Skip Bayless on you. Because no, Dwight Howard ain't no way close to Shaq. He don't have no diversity in his game. He can't. He's almost as bad hitting a free throw as Shaq.
Dang.
Okay, he average defender. He only got a rebound when it was right in front of him and going to hit his head. Yeah, he might be able to jump 12 foot tall, but he didn't go out and go get no rebound. He didn't have no power. He wasn't imposing. He might have been a good rebounder, but he wasn't dominant. Wasn't nobody scared of no Dwight Howard, but Shaq come in the lane and man is like parting the Red Sea. I'm telling you, Dwight Howard, overrated.
Go back and look at the footage, because I think you're forgetting some things, Boogey Bob. I think that age is getting to you a little bit, and you forgot some stuff. You know what I'm saying?
He had
Because
no mid-range shot. He had no turnaround. He had
Shaq
no jump. He faded a little bitty sky hook.
Shaq didn't
either. If he was in 4 foot of the rim, he could dunk it. Big deal. 7 foot, you should be able to dunk it.
Shaq developed that stuff later on. But when you're looking at the overall body of what they do, they're pretty much the same player.
But Dwight Howard never developed it. Shaq developed it, but Dwight Howard never did.
He didn't have to. He didn't have to, because when you look at
Shaq,
should,
if you're going to be a superstar and be in that upper echelon, it's not a matter of have to. You should want to be there, and Dwight Howard never had that want to.
I'm just telling you. With the way that they played, with the way that he played the game and the people he played with, he didn't have the opportunity to take a lot of those shots. If you look at the way that they played with the teams that he was on, they did a lot of pick and roll. So it was a lot of pick, go, roll to the basket, catch lobs, and things like that. He didn't do a lot of posting up. Yeah, he didn't do a lot of posting up. So yeah, he didn't do a lot.
But didn't he play for the Lakers? Didn't he play for the Rockets? Didn't he get dumped by 3 or 4 other teams? So he might not have a chance at Orlando, but he could have improved his game.
But nobody wanted to play with Howard. You put Howard somewhere, no one's coming to play with Howard. You put Shaq on the team, folks are coming.
Everybody wanted to play with Shaq. Even when he got older and was in Cleveland and used up, people still wanted to play with Shaq. I told y'all better have your seatbelts on.
Kobe played with Shaq. It was like, man, big man, get into shape. Dwight came and Kobe was like, what the hell is this? Send it back.
Well, I think it's a mentality.
This is not what I ordered. I
don't think it was a skill thing. I think it was a mentality thing. Tell it. They weren't used to somebody smiling, somebody happy and enjoying the game, and they forgot again that dude was really young and he was a playful guy. But when it came to the game, you don't win Defensive Player of the Year, and it's a fluke. You don't have that many blocks per game for years on top of years, and it's a fluke. Like, he was a defender.
Can I respectfully? I like your opinion, and we usually right on. But if you're 7 foot and you can touch the top of the rim or top of the backboard and take a dollar bill off and put change on before you come back down, then you should be able to block everything. And when you camp out in the paint, you should be able to block everything. You just wait there until somebody gets there, and you jump sky high and you knock it out. Kenny Skywalker, if I was 7 foot, I wouldn't even have to move. If I could jump, I would knock that shit out of there.
I mean, those who can do. Those who can't think they can. So, you know what I'm saying? My thing is, it's easy for a lot of people to look and criticize what those guys do and don't do on the court. But until you're actually out there and actually in those positions to do that stuff, like, I think Dwight Howard is one of those players who could have been better if he would have been in a better system. If he would have been with better coaching, because it's a lot of guys.
Timing.
Hold on.
Could have been.
It's a lot of guys. It's a lot of nope. What I'm saying is we're looking at accolades, but we're looking at a lot of different things. But I'm saying off of when I look at comparing player to player, I'm looking at skill set. I'm not looking at all the other stuff. With him and Shaq, they have a very similar skill set. They only are different in a few ways, but for the most part, they're the same guy. They've just been used in different ways. And Shaq has had the opportunity to play with some great coaches.
So when they show the NBA Finals, I don't see no Dwight Howard highlights, but I see that slam dunk from Shaq when it comes from the top of the key after Kobe gives it to him. They show that.
It's a team game.
After he quit playing.
It's a team game.
Yeah.
It's a lot of great players that didn't play in the finals, and that doesn't take away from what they did, from what they contributed to the league. I mean, it's a team game at the end of the day. Dame hasn't won anything, and he got on the top 75 players of all time, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
He hadn't won anything.
But if I have to take an old Shaq versus in his prime Dwight Howard, I take Shaq all day long.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're gonna be 1-2. They might be 1-2 or something like that.
But then the same difference, Ken. Where is Dwight on that top 75?
He didn't make the list. And like I said, for me, it wasn't because he wasn't good enough. That was politics. To me, that was politics because they put Anthony Davis on that list too, who I didn't think was deserving at that time either, and still don't think he's deserving to be over Dwight Howard. When you look at Dwight Howard's full catalog and accolades and what he was able to achieve.
Anthony Davis is special.
Yeah, his skill set is special, but what has he achieved? What kind of accolades does he have?
He got special needs.
But you said aside from all of that, I mean, Anthony Davis is special.
Yeah, his skill set is special.
Like near unicorn special.
Yeah, his skill set is extremely special.
And that's why he'll get a jacket one day.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, the jacket comes from accolades, not from skill set. Because there are guys who got better skill sets that don't have a jacket. I'm just saying.
Ken, you know what, Ken? I agree. You know what? Yes. I agree with Ken.
There's a lot of guys with great skill sets that don't have jackets.
Right. You're right.
It's politics and it's accolades.
Barkley don't have no ring, and he was a great player. So, Ken, did you put Dwight Howard on your Mount Rushmore for any team?
Yes. I can't remember which one, but I know I did.
Okay.
I like Dwight Howard. I've always liked this game. So
I'm not saying I don't like Dwight Howard. I'm just saying there's no way I put him on the stratosphere of Shaq.
We have to disagree. We have to agree to disagree on that one.
That's big facts. That's big. I want to point out too, in my thought process, Phil Jackson and Greg Popovich. I wanted to kind of compare how they were and what are your thoughts on how they compare to each other in regards to how their coaching career ended up and how their coaching career, as far as Popovich, is still going. So again, the leader, the first leg of the tournament, Big Ken. Your thoughts on Greg Popovich versus Phil Jackson? Who's the better coach?
In this, I'm going to take a note from Boogey Bob. Phil Jackson is the GOAT. Phil Jackson is the GOAT, and Pop is not even on the stratosphere when you look at the accolades in which they've been able to achieve, right? I'm just going to leave it at this. When you look at what they were able to achieve, there's only been 5 teams in the history of the NBA that were able to three-peat. Phil Jackson coached 3 of them. Phil Jackson coached 3 three-peats. You know how difficult that is? People can talk about the talent that he was able to coach or whatever the case may be. Pop the same. Pop has had some amazing talent, but 3 three-peats to be able to go from one team to another team and replicate what you've done somewhere else. I mean, the system works. Whatever he's doing, and the Zen Master, whatever he's doing, it's working. Point blank, period.
Bobby had a rebuttal to that one because I still think, if I had to choose a coach, I would always choose Popovich for whatever reason. I just feel like he's a better coach in my opinion. But Bob, you can kind of discredit me on that one. But
I got a rebuttal. Y'all got me all worked up tonight. Okay. hey, I give it to you. He got 9. One short. The Mavericks kept him from getting number 10. So, yeah, he might got 9 rings. So, for counting rings, I bet. But, hey, he didn't have no Michael Jordan. He didn't have no Kobe. He didn't have no Shaq. He had Tim Duncan and Dave Robinson, Tony Parker. So, he had some talent. But I'm looking at what Pop has done over his whole career before he had those. He's the players that they've developed and other teams won after. So personally, I don't think Popovich had as many weapons as Phil Jackson had at his disposal. Player development, this with AAU is like you always have your stars and the younger players aren't as good, and a good coach develops the players that are on the bench. Superstars are going to be superstars. So Popovich, I think, much better player development. He may have less rings, 5 instead of 9, but he didn't have the multiple league MVPs like Phil Jackson did. You look at the multiple MVPs that played for Phil Jackson, and heck, Coach Mike could win with Pippen and Jordan in that roster.
Well, hold on. Let me make this point too. People always miss this about Phil Jackson. Was Phil Jackson a great coach before Mike?
He was a assistant coach. If you remember, it was
what I'm saying is, was he a great coach before Mike?
No, Mike made him a great coach, in my opinion.
So what I'm saying is, it took that group of guys, that first three-peat, and he had to figure it out, and they had to put that together, and he developed a blueprint that he was able to maintain and piece together and maneuver. Not only did he have a three-peat, Mike left, came back. What'd they do when he came back? Same thing with different pieces to the puzzle. He took that, went to the Lakers. What'd they do? Same thing. You talk about player development. Mike was Mike, but Mike didn't become championship Mike to what? To add Phil Jackson to that mix.
How big is the Phil Jackson coaching tree? Because Popovich has got multiple assistant coaches that have been head coaches in the NBA. Mike Butthole.
Get your hands out of my pocket, Boogey Bob.
That coaching tree has produced some NBA rings on its own. But, Phil Jackson had Mike Brown, who's in Sacramento now. So, I don't know. Maybe I sniffed the wrong glue this morning, Ken, because you and I are usually on 100% agreement. So I'll give it back over to you, Mike. That was my rebuttal.
Wild Dog, same question, man. Who you think is a better coach, Pop or Phil Jackson?
All right, look, there's two main philosophies when it comes to coaching, right? I always love when a player that played the game is able to coach, right? Develop. Continues to get back to the game, goes into coaching or whatever, and becomes a head coach and does great, like Larry Bird, right? Then on the other hand, you have people who have great passion for the game and IQ for the game, but either physically or talent-wise don't have it, so that those who can't play teach. Those are the two main avenues of paths that we've seen amongst great coaches, right? So
what are you doing?
So if I have a team, so I'm going in. So if I have a team and I need to get over the hump, I'm going with the Zen Master. If I'm starting a new organization, or if my organization, my team is crap, I'm going with Greg Popovich.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yep.
I can agree. It took you a while to get there, but
because I'm trying to be nice. Because the one thing Phil, okay, let me go in here with you then. Since I took so long, let me go ahead and hit you with this thing. The one thing that Phil had that no one else had is Tex Winter, Big Ken. The key is Tex Winter. Mm-hmm. All the accolades going to Phil Jackson. Tex Winter deserves his flowers.
Yeah, facts.
Greg Popovich has had his influences, of course, but Greg Popovich is a self-made man who developed the best sports franchise in the history of all sports. That's Greg Popovich. GM, president of basketball operations, and head coach. That thing didn't turn around, wasn't doing nothing until Greg Popovich got there.
And Yoggi, Your opinion on that, man. I know there's those two coaches are amazing in my opinion. I like both of them, but again, I like Popovich better. But give me your opinion on what you thought.
I think you know what, and I agree. I agree with the Wild Dog. I agree with you because it just depends on what was needed. Because if, like you said, Popovich is a better coach. I think he develops players better. And man, people can say, "Well, I'm not going to get into those Bulls teams." Man, they were picking from the teams, but it was not about that. It's not about that. I just think it depends on what is needed at the time. And I think Phil was best for the Bulls, just like Popovich was best for San Antonio. Because it makes you wonder, is Phil that great if he goes to coach a team like San Antonio? Do we ever hear about Phil Jackson? But I believe if Popovich goes to coach the Bulls, I believe they win. I believe they win with Popovich. I believe if you switch them, I believe because Popovich, man, that dude, Popovich could coach. That dude can coach.
And Big Mike, I do have a trump card for you if you want it.
Yeah. What's your trump card?
Boogie did the little joker with the family tree. What coaches came out of you, right? And so it's two-phase thing. Greg Popovich had to get rid of somebody, but then he knew exactly where to send him. So the worm was traded from San Antonio to the one place where he knew he could thrive, and that was the Chicago Bulls. Mm. You could say, well, Pops couldn't deal with him. Well, no, not in the organization. You only allow one crazy. He already had a crazy over there, right? And so, but then how did he land exactly where he needed to under a coach that was Greg Popovich, making the trade into exactly where the worm needed to go?
Makes sense. I mean, you mentioned the word crazy, and a lot of people thought this guy, moving to the next segment, a lot of people thought this guy was off his rocker when he went to China, when he had those even his social media account, it was not a lot of social media back then, but when he posted this online with him just going a little bit weird, Stephon Marbury. His career, man, it's an amazing story to even say the least. And I'm pretty sure you guys know he's a great point guard for the back in the days. And I respected his game, especially when he played with Kevin Garnett. I'm going back to our lead man on this segment, Ken. You had a chance to kind of look at Stephon Marbury's career. What are your thoughts on him, and what could he have done if he would have stayed in the NBA instead of just going to China?
Well, for me, I mean, with this one, it's fun. It's fun to talk about because during the pandemic, they came out with a documentary called "The Kid from Coney Island" about Steph Marbury. So you got a little bit of more insight into things, and you starting to hear a little bit more of the stories from inside the organization and from players who were around at that time of what happened with like him and Kevin Garnett and so on and so forth. So I think with Steph, first of all, he's an American icon. When people talk about basketball, when people talk about playground basketball, when people talk about the NBA, when people talk about college basketball, like he did it at all levels. And then when you think he couldn't do it anymore and he was fizzling out in the NBA, he goes and reinvents himself internationally and becomes a super icon over there so much that they make a statue of him over there. You know what I'm saying? And you don't even talk about the shoes and the effect of the shoe when he came up with the shoes for that short amount of time, because even that was a ripple in the time that forced people to start looking at the shoe game differently, right? So, I mean, the shoes were cheap. The shoes had, some negative connotation to them, but it forced other shoe companies to look at things differently when it comes to pricing, when it comes to price point, when it comes to quality, when it comes to what they could offer. So I think at the end of the day, Steph had a bigger imprint on the game of basketball as a whole than people probably give him credit for, because they just looking at solely what he did in the NBA. And, people's memories are short. let's just be honest. People's memories are short. And I just want to end with saying, I wish he could have stayed in Minnesota just a little while longer, because I think with him, KG, and Sam Cassell and all them had going on, I think that was going to be special if they could have held it together for at least a couple more years for those guys to develop and, you know, have a little bit more chemistry because they had something special.
No, I agree with you. Yogi, man, your thoughts on Stephon Marbury? And I mean, I could tell y'all a story. I met him and a long time ago when he came out with his shoes, man. Me and him had a good conversation, and I was trying to kind of, you know, figure out, you know, what was his purpose of putting these shoes out. And he was like, "Hey, man, there's too many shoes out there that's overly expensive." So I was like, you know, I'm digging it, man. So I got one of his sweat jackets, and I got a pair of his shoes, man. I supported his stuff at that time. But Yogi, what are your thoughts on Stephon Marbury's career and what was his story?
I would agree, and I think the only negative thing you can say about him is his career. His NBA career didn't last long enough for the average sports guy to say, "Hey, stop." Stephon was that cat. Everybody in New York knew him and loved him, and that's all they talked about. But dude, the guy could get buckets. That guy could put the ball in the basket, dude. And it's funny because I didn't, until you guys came, I didn't know about all the other accolades. I just knew what I saw him do when he was with the Knicks. I was like, this cat can put the ball in the hole, man. But again, my only thing was I just didn't feel like he did it for a long enough period of time. I remember him doing it in Minnesota, and I remember with the Knicks, but I didn't. His career wasn't star-studded where he played with stars, where you could see him on TV all of the time. So you really wouldn't know how great he was. But hey, when you watched him, that kid could get buckets. That kid could get buckets, man. And again, I just think his NBA career wasn't actually as long as it should be for people to be talking about him like they should, because that kid did a lot for New York basketball.
Nah, for real, especially being a native from New York.
Yes,
Bob, your thoughts on that, man? I know you had a lot of opportunities to watch him play back in the day. So your thoughts on his career and the deep dive in him, we were trying to get, you know, him being in China, man, it's amazing. But what are your thoughts on it?
You ask me?
Yeah, Bob, Boogie.
Well, I think the glue sniffing wore off. I finally agree with Ken on something here. Recency bias, they call it. So, to me, Stephon Marbury, he's Terrell Davis. Great career, but very short.
That's good. That's a good one.
Okay. Wild Dog, your thoughts?
Oh, my goodness.
When y'all are saying short, though, 13 years is short?
No.
His peak was short. They're talking about his peak.
I was going to say, because he was in the league for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, he played in Phoenix, but I'm talking about his peak. Like,
yeah. So I'm a huge Stephon Marbury fan. So like Ken said, I'm not from New York. I'm from Kentucky. So when you hear about Kings of the Blacktop and then who you couldn't watch, you know, in the NCAA, you know, time, I mean, and then this time in the NBA, I mean, I'm a huge fan. So, I mean, so he's a legend in New York, and New York is the mecca of basketball. If you're a legend in New York, then you're a legend throughout all of basketball, if you love the game and care about its history. Then let me just skip through all the middle and go straight to China and the work and everything he's done in China. So not only is a legend known in New York, he is given like elder status, like the epitome language they use. There's different language they use for like elder or to honor someone. He is given the highest. Forgive me my Chinese, or I'll be spitting it, but that designation, that honor, he is given the highest honor to an elder of any sector where you honor someone. He's given that in China. He is a legend for all the Chinese. So I don't think he would trade that for nothing. So I'm going to give him all the respect and flowers for it. Because if he doesn't leave, then what? I look at the big picture. Then who's done more? Yeah, you say Jordan because of the name and the flash, but who has literally, you got to be present to get work done. Who has literally done more than Stephon Marbury for basketball? Being a legend in the Mecca and then going over and establishing the solid foundation of the game over in China. I mean, let's That's is what it is. Let's be real with it. And when I danced with it, when I was entertaining the NBA, you know, and the sponsors wasn't giving us shoes, guess what I was wearing? I was wearing Starburys. I was wearing Starburys at practice, Starburys at appearances, fresh, brand new pair because they were so cheap at every performance on court. And you know what it forced them to do? They started issuing us shoes because I had the kids wearing Starburys.
I mean, I love that. It's his logo for his shoe brand. I love that, man. That was dope, man. So it made me
Starburys made Nike move and issue us shoes.
No,
okay, so you want to say it's a joke? That's not a joke. I'm nobody. I'm wearing Starburys, and next thing I know, I get, "Hey, Wild Dog, sign my Starburys." Oh, dang, dog. Okay, that's real talk, real experience. 12 years. They pushed me out of my Starburys where I couldn't wear them.
No, for real. So, moving on to the next segment, man. I wish he, you know, I wonder how he would have been playing with Kobe. And we're going to kind of analyze the 2023-2024 Lakers roster. I mean, it's not a bad roster. They did good last year, and we're going to the first leg, and this is the Big Ken show. So, Ken, you had a chance to look at the roster for the Lakers, man. What are your thoughts on that roster, and what do you think they're going to do for next year?
Okay, so my analysis is they got a great roster on paper to start off with. You look at the names, you see a couple of names, you see some backups. You say, oh, okay, you know, starting lineup. You see some of the guys coming off the bench. You're like, okay, this could work. First of all, you got to see what the chemistry is like because they do have a lot of new guys. Yeah. So we don't know what that's going to look like. And we know how temperamental LeBron is. As great as he is, he's very temperamental. So if guys don't work out, come to trade deadline, you know, nobody's safe. Nobody is safe. Outside of AD, everybody else is food. So, you know, everybody else can be moved. But I think that they have solid depth in the front court. If you look at their roster, they're front court heavy. A lot of their players are, you know, from the 3 to the 5, right? Now, where they're going to have issues at is their guard play. Because after Russell and Reeves, it's kind of murky when you look at that roster on that second unit of who's going to come in and produce. So, and I mean,
so
you know,
not thinking D'Angelo Russell is an asset.
That's what I'm saying. Outside of Reeves and Russell, they don't have any other. They don't have any other reputable guards. Reddish is a 3,
but they got him listed as what they got
small forward.
Yeah, they got him listed forward and guard.
Yeah, well, he's primarily
Gabe Vincent too, but Gabe Vincent.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. These guys are names, but these guys aren't proven, right? You're not looking for a successful in-season team. You're talking about LeBron on this team. You're talking about making it to the finals because this is his prime year. This is year 21. He's not trying to make it to the playoffs. He's trying to win another one. So when you're looking at that type of roster, you're looking for a championship roster. And to me, right now, looking at that roster on paper with the other teams in the West, they don't have a championship roster. That could change. Now that could change by the trade deadline because, you know, they make moves. So, you know, we shall see. But I think there are other teams in the West that are better.
Gotcha. And Bob, do you agree with that? I mean, Ken kind of threw me for a loop. I think they got a nice roster. Well, let me hear your thoughts first before I even speak.
Well, I got a lot of notes here. I need to take off my Ken shades, but I do agree with him. Overall, the weak at point guard, got a short bench, suspect depth, and they got some youth. So I look at it as this. LeBron's a stud. Is he going to stay healthy? Anthony Davis, stud, injury prone. D'Angelo Russell, inconsistent. Austin Reeves, better than average, a good third person, good shooter. Vanderbilt, above average defender. Hachimura, serviceable man. Then you get into the rest of the roster, and you got a lot of Jags. just a guy. That's what I call just a guy.
I
You
like
got
that.
Tayshaun Prince, Jackson Hayes, Cam Reddish, Gabe Vincent, our crazy man. I done went off on Christian Wood a few weeks ago.
I'm telling you,
But-
Gabe Vincent is a player, man. Hey, all right.
Well, if he was a player, why did Miami let him go? To me, he's just a guy.
Well, I think Miami let him go because they were trying to get
Damian Lillard.
They were trying to get Damian Lillard.
It was money too. They, Miami was trying to keep some of that, keep their powder dry. But you got six players, but after that, it's suspect. You got a bunch of guys that potential never wins the championship. So you got some guys like Vincent and Wood and Cam Reddish, and have they blossomed, as Wild Dog likes to say, in their fourth year? Had they made that turn? But to me, they've got 6 quality guys, and then the rest of the team is just a guy.
I love that acronym. Yogi, your thoughts on that, man? I'm telling you, the Lakers gonna be.
It's funny because me and my brother were talking about this, and everybody tends to believe that the Lakers have a really good roster because they did well last year in the playoffs. But I do agree with you guys, though. I just think it's about the buy-in. I think they're going to have a lot of players. They're going to have, after they get 6 or 7 deep, they're going to have from 7 to 12. If they can get, it's about buy-in. If they can get those players to know their roles. Because one thing I noticed about Denver, those guys know their roles. They know what they do. They know what they're there for. They know what they specialize in, and they do that. To me, if the Lakers can get those other guys to buy into what their roles are, they have just as much a chance as anybody below Denver. Below Denver.
I agree.
Denver's here below them. They have just as good a chance as anybody down here if they can get those guys to buy those tweener guys to buy into what needs to be done.
I agree. Wild Dog, your opinions on that roster?
I mean, everyone's hitting on great points of my own assessment, So, I mean, with what everybody said, what I see is that Christian Wood's performance is going to determine how many guys are going to be still in Laker uniforms by the trade deadline. Okay, let's just what everybody said. Let's just get straight down to the bottom of it. Okay, and you hinted at the trade. If Christian Woods can play his role, then everyone else will be able to fall into their roles. If he does not, then him and all the other dudes, Murray, Jackson, Hayes, what do you call them, Boogie? Those guys, what's it called? Just the guy, the Jag, and Woods are going to be shipped the heck up out of there. He'll be shipped the heck up out of there.
Yep.
So that's the way I see it, man. Woods going to have to show up and play his role, and 3 or 4 other guys' jobs in Laker uniforms is going to depend on him, period. So I took the roster. I took AD out. I took LeBron out. And I'm looking at Russell, this, and it's like it all peaks and points at Woods. Period. If he's doing his role, it don't matter if they win or losing. If he's flowing in his position, his role, it's all going to come together in jail. If not, then see you. Gotta go.
Now, I don't see how Wood's going to be that much of a focal point when it comes to how successful they'll be. I just don't see how Woods can be that much of an integral part.
He's an integral part.
I'll let Shaq do it. Shaq said it's all about the others. That's why I did that. I took the 2 stars. What are the others doing? And it's all the keystone is Woods.
Yep.
Is he on the court though? Is he even on the court for him though? I mean,
he just trade bait. That's the thing. He either gonna hook a fish, or you know what I'm saying, or he either gonna be the big fish, or he gonna be bait. Trade bait.
I ain't even mad at you right with that one for sure. I mean, speaking of the teams that he's been with, man, he's in the Western Conference, and we're going back to our lead guy today, which, we all got shades on for. Ken, for the Western Conference, who do you think will be coming out of the Western Conference and why?
I mean, it's hard to go against Denver, man. It's hard to go against them. I mean, they didn't lose anything. They have continuity. They know what they do. It's gonna be tough to beat that team because they're so solid on both sides, on both ends of the court, right? And in today's league, that's a rarity that you have a team that's that solid on both ends of the court. Usually, teams, they try to outscore you. That's the name of the game in today's NBA for the most part for most of those teams. But I think that's a difference maker, man. Denver can lock down and get stops when they need to, and that's the difference maker in a lot of those games. When you look at this past year's playoffs, that's what got them there. They were able to score because they have guys who know their roles, who can score. But the defensive end is the difference maker. And I think, barring, some major injury to somebody on their roster, they're going to be back in it again. They're going to be back in the mix. They're going to be the team to beat for sure.
Nah, I think you on point for some reason. I still think there's another team that's going to come out the West. But I want to hear your thoughts on it, Yoggi, man. Who you think is going to be coming out of the West as far as the Western Conference go?
I agree with Ken. Denver actually was putting that team together slow. The way they did it was very rude and disrespectful. The way they put that team together. That team is long. That team is athletic. They got a cornerstone at center and the point guard. They assembled that team to win at least 2 championships. They got one. They assembled that team to win another. So I think anybody, Lakers included, would be hard pressed to beat Denver because Denver is stacked. And again, all they pivotal pieces, man, everybody know their roles. So even the small people that they lost and fill back in, it's easier for everybody to fill in and play their roles because the example has been set for them. So it's easy when you come to a team and everybody know the culture and what needs to be done. I just think you can pencil them in, man. You can pencil them in and size them for the rings, man. Really.
So you think Golden State is out of there now, and you look at Phoenix too.
You can pencil them in and size them for the ring. They don't have nothing for Denver. Denver's too long. First of all, Denver's too long. Denver, they got guys 6'10" out there on the wings with arms that's going. Oh, you can't do nothing with that. You can't do nothing with that. Oh, that's gonna bother anybody out there.
Bob,
and they're young, and them cats are young. They're not 32 and 33. Them cats are young, man. And basketball, contrary to popular demand, basketball is the young man's game.
Yeah. LeBron got a little something to say about that. But Bob, your thoughts?
He'll be watching like he was last year.
I got to give you a salute to that, man. Bob, your thoughts on that, man? The Western Conference, who's coming out?
Well, I kind of had a feeling, so props to Ken. You finally got the glue I sent you, and you sniffed it. Because you mentioned 21. You see the shirt, 41, 21, 1. The MVP of 2011, played 21 seasons for one team. You talk about LeBron playing 21 years. That's a long time in the NBA. Only Vince Carter's played more, so props to that. Who do I pick in the West? It's a team that stays the healthiest. It's Denver and everybody else, as most people are saying. But as we saw last year, Lakers were under 500, made a few trades, which helped. But they got healthy. They got AD and LeBron on the court at the end of the season. They made a run. So the team that stays the healthiest, it's no easy. I mean, you're talking about for the first time the team coming out of the West hasn't won 60 games that won the championship. We're talking, I think Denver won 57 games, 56, 57 games. That just shows you how tough it is to win in the West. So, you might win 55 games and be the 5th seed.
They won 53. They were 53 and 29.
So, 41 and 41 is considered 500. So if you win 4 more games than you're supposed to, you're right around there at 50. There's going to be a few years ago, the West had every playoff team won 50 and 2 that didn't make it won 50 games. I think that's what you're going to see in the West this year. So, yeah, Denver's the favorite and everybody else is running behind. But the team that, for the marathon, the team that stays the healthiest all season long, that's your winner.
And the Lakers are gonna be a candidate for the injury prone of the year with that roster they got. So I mean, it's great talent on that roster. Don't get me wrong, but they have some liabilities as far as guys who have been injured in the past maybe 2 to 3 seasons. So
with you not being able to sit players like you used to, is that going to benefit a lot of the teams, or is that going to hurt them?
It's going to hurt them.
Yeah.
Wild out. We're finishing on you, man. Your thoughts on the LA Lakers roster?
And that's where I've got the Lakers at 3 in the West, being optimistic. With health, with Woods doing his job, I got him sitting at 3. Okay. And then I had the Nuggets at 1. You know, I know a little bit about Serbian culture, and now that they don't mess around, let the Joker get some blood on his fangs. You know what I'm saying? You know, sharks in the water. You're going to got to get up out of there. But then you had this 3-way team trade that said Dame to the Bucks, Holiday on the trading blocks, mess around with the Blazers, and the Suns. The Suns got 1, 2, 3, 4, got their head on straight, role players going over there with Durant. It's going to be murder. No disrespect. Like, I'm giving respect where respect is due. I got Lakers 3, but I had to slide Denver right behind the Suns. And you heard it from me first.
The Suns.
I can't disagree with that, man. I had the Suns, you know, in the top 3 teams.
Center Nurkic, guard Allen, forward Little, guard Johnson, along over there with Booker and Durant. Dog. And you talking about years and 21 and injuries and whatever. Don't forget about Kevin Durant. Don't forget about KD over there. And I'm not the biggest KD fan.
Man, KD ain't been that KD in 5 years.
In the West,
to carry him in 5 years.
In the West, the Suns came out like gangbangers. And that trade is the Bucks and the Suns. So I got the Bucks and the Suns in the championship. You heard it from me first. And I didn't wait till November.
Well, it don't really matter where we heard it from. It's wrong. So it don't really matter.
Good thing words are cheap. You're going to be eating them.
Where I came from, we used to say, put your money where your mouth is. Maybe you need to go to Vegas and put $100 on Suns versus the Bucks.
Yeah, absolutely.
I ain't no gambling, man, but, you know, I'll bet some Mountain Dew or, you know.
So I'm gonna wrap this up real quick. But Ken, who is your dark horse? And I'm gonna ask y'all the same question. Who's your dark horse for the Western Conference? Who you think will be like in the top 5 as far as the playoffs go?
I don't necessarily say dark horse, but I would have to throw Phoenix in there for sure, because I think with that roster they have, it's some pieces in there that could be very difficult matchups for other teams, period. Right? Like they say, all things being healthy across the board. And, I mean, with LeBron in his 21st year, that roster, if they're healthy, I guess they would be the dark horse. They would be that team that they might squeak into the playoffs. But, you know, with anytime LeBron's on that roster, man, you can't count him out. You can't count the old man out, man.
Right. Quick note. LeBron is the oldest player in the NBA right now.
Yes, sir.
Bob, who's your dark horse? Or we don't want to say dark horse in respect to our
I'm going to tap into something Yogi mentioned, which was youth. And I think a team, they may not win the West, but don't sleep on Oklahoma City Thunder.
Man, they good. They are. That's the best, I think. Yes.
Because the Thunder got Chet Holmgren been injured. He coming back. They got another high draft pick. Giddey is developing. SGA might be every bit as good a point guard as Luka, and I hate to say that, but he's up there with Luka and John Morant and Steph Curry. Like, don't sleep on the Thunder because they might just up and surprise a few teams. They're deep, they're young, and they haven't, other than Chet Holmgren, they hadn't had a lot of injuries.
Yeah, facts. Yogi, your dark horse?
I know this is gonna surprise y'all, so go ahead. But I say the Clippers. And the reason why I say the Clippers is because Kawhi is going to try to show the league that to create the you can't sit down because you hurt like Kawhi rule. He's going to try to give it. He's going to try to stick it to the league to let the league know I was really hurt, and this is what I'm gonna do to y'all because I was really hurt. So I'm gonna say the Clippers.
All right, and lastly, Wild Dog, who you got?
I mean, I don't know. When you say dark horse, naturally I'm thinking when somebody comes out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, for a team to come out of nowhere and kind of surprise me, I mean, that would have to be the Spurs.
Spurs.
Oh, boy. That's a dark horse. You are right, sir.
Gonna be my dark horse then. That would have to be my pick. With they first round pick, if he come out the gate blazing, and Popovich is the coach that we know he is, that would be a dark horse.
So, pun intended, they're Spurs, so they got the horse. The Spurs, they're gonna ride that horse.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys. So
you said dark horse, and my first thought was, dang, the Spurs come out of nowhere with nobody. Dang, that'd be a dark horse.
I ain't mad at you, guys.
With silver-haired Popovich coming through talking about get her done.
Thanks. Great show today, man. I appreciate y'all coming on, man. Yogi, for the audience, man, where can they find you at social media wise, and just give them your handle so they can kind of keep in contact with you and support you on your social media.
Okay. All social media outlets is at John Yoggi. We got a Man Talk Monday podcast on comes on Mondays. I'm also on here when you can catch me in here on Fridays. Let me see, that's YouTube. Got my YouTube job. All social media outlets is at John Yoggi. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Gotcha. Boogey Bob, where can they find you at, my brother?
Shameless Blood, Prominent Sports, Swish4Real.
In the building.
Right. So Facebook, pretty much the only social media. That's the nice thing about retired. I don't have to just put out there, I like being part of Prominent Sports, Swish4Real. So that's where you'll find me.
Gotcha. And Wild Dogs bounced off on us. So Ken, we're gonna end with you, man. Since you the first leg of every segment, the shades, man, represent you. Yogi, thank you for putting the shades on. Boogey Bob, thank you for putting the shades on. Represent, salute. Man, where can the people find you at, man, so they can keep in contact and try to check out what you got going on?
Man, I just want to say, first of all, I appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate y'all inviting me to join you all, man. It's fun every single time I'm on here, man. I absolutely enjoy it. It's the highlight of my week, actually. When I come on here on Friday, it primes me up for the weekend, man. So salute to the guys on the panel, man. I appreciate you all coming through as well. You all can find me at Big Ken's Comedy on IG, Big Ken's Comedy on Twitter, Big Ken's Comedy on Facebook. Y'all can catch me every Tuesday live on the Fiyah Session. That's FIYAH session. You can find us on YouTube. Just go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and hit that notification button, that little bell, so you won't miss an episode or you won't miss any other content that we provide to you. Because as we say all the time at the Fiyah Session, we like to put the medicine in the candy. We like to educate you and entertain you. So holla at us. Appreciate you guys.
And Wild Dog is back. You're going to close out, man. Where can the people find you at, my brother?
Oh, yeah. You can find me on YouTube. At Wild DOWG 357, doing commentary and keeping it real out there with the truth. Yes, sir. I'm subscribing, Big Ken. I'm coming for you.
I appreciate it.
Thanks. Hey guys, man, enjoy your weekend. Again, this was a banging episode, man. Y'all make it easy for me to host. Definitely, Bob, I want you to host again because you do a great job. Ken, thanks for showing up. Yogi, thanks for showing up. Wild Dog, thanks for showing up. And Bob, as always, man, it's a pleasure. Y'all enjoy y'all weekend, man. And we'll talk to you guys soon, guys. Have a great one. We out, man. Take care, guys.
All right, bro. Y'all be
Bless you.